The FBI warning of possible Iranian drone attacks on our homeland. A new alert reviewed by ABC News revealing Iran's aspirations to conduct a surprise attack specifically against unspecified targets in California. The FBI saying it's warned police departments across the Golden State now of strikes by unmanned aerial vehicles or drones as tensions rise in the Middle East. Let's get straight to our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Kontersky. Aaron, what are you learning?
We've reviewed an alert that came within the last couple of weeks, Kira, just recently from the FBI.
The last couple of weeks. So does that mean that, like, this had nothing to do with the war? Like, I'm very confused about this. I thought this is something that developed very recently, but apparently it happened a couple of weeks ago.
To law enforcement agencies up and down the California coastline, warning that Iran is aspiring now to perhaps launch some kind of a retaliatory attack on the U.S. mainland using drones.
I think they
on
will.
The West Coast.
Or they'll try to, at least.
The alert that we reviewed said an uncorroborated...
Honestly, my expectation is that Iran has probably tried to do something like this multiple times in the past, but they've just never succeeded. I don't think this is the first time.
Unidentified
why would you expect
cartel
that?
leaders had authorized attacks using drones carrying explosives, so they know that capability exists. And the separate alert that we've reviewed, Kira, says that Iran has those same kinds of aspirations.
No, this is 3 hours ago.
So the U.S. has broadly known...
I think that they're showing that... Yeah, okay.
For some time, that drones could be deployed against the homeland. We know that Iran has been using drones significantly in this 12-day-old war with the United States. That's what killed the first 6 U.S. service members in this war. But now the FBI is specifically warning
the Vegas shooter was Iran. I didn't see
California along the Pacific coastline that Iran is aspiring to use them to attack in the West.
So why California? Why the West?
Good question.
Because it's the closest to the, like, I mean, realistically, I would assume the reason why is that they could launch them from some island that's closer nearby and they could send them over more easily. I mean, that's probably the reason why. California is like one of the biggest cities. Like, I mean, New York is harder to hit because it's not on a coastline. Like, they're probably going to do it from the sea. So if they can send in these little vessels from the sea, I mean, I would say California is probably the most substantial thing that they could hit to be terrorists, right? I mean, duh.
That's not exactly
California's a city?
Clear, but perhaps there's thought that Iran has these things pre-positioned on ships that are still
England
in
is my
international
city?
waters or that could float through international waters. We know that we've previously reported, Kira, on Iran's desire to perhaps activate sleeper cells in the United States, although that's certainly far from confirmed or far from anything operational as far as law enforcement knows. It's not clear why the West Coast as opposed to the East Coast, but that's what the alert from the FBI says.
All right, Aaron.
I think also California is the most prosperous and the most economically, like, powerful country in like the U.S. And so it has like the highest GDP and like the highest like economic level. So that's also, it's also the most populated too. So like, I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious that's where you're going to attack country. Guys, listen, I say the wrong words. I say the wrong words. That's what happens. I do it constantly. Okay, so you're going to have to get used to it. It's a state. I know. It's really bad.
We'll stay on top of it. Thank you
You've got to
so
keep
much.
in mind that, like, I'm reading messages. I'm thinking about something else. I'm watching this video. I'm going to have misfires, okay? And there's going to be a lot of them. So get used to it, guys. Get used to it. Let's see if there's any more about this, too. And I'll see if there's any other examples.
An ABC News exclusive. The FBI warning police departments across California that Iran could retaliate against the West Coast. This would allegedly be done
dyslexia. I just say different words.
ABC News has reviewed the alert from the end of February, and the alert said Iran planned to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles specifically against California in the event.
I think if this happens, people are going to say that it's a false flag, by the way. Even if it's not a false flag, I think people are going to say that's what's happening, right? I don't know whether it will be or not, but and I think that it depends on what happens. It might work. I don't know. All right.
The U.S. conducted strikes against Iran. The alert did not have any additional information on the timing,
So
method,
that's it at
target,
all?
or
There's nothing
perpetrators
else?
of the alleged attack.
Okay.
Now, this warning comes as the Trump administration launches more attacks in Iran. ABC's Olivia Rubin is following the overnight strikes.
Today, fire and fury in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, you can see people are already, Hassan even. Very difficult for me to read this as anything but a potential false flag setup. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I mean, even if it's not, it's pretty easy to tell that Iran would want to bomb the U.S. if they could. I feel like that's kind of obvious.
This cargo ship from Thailand on fire. Officials now say 3 crew members are missing, 32 rescued. Several cargo ships in the strait hit by unknown projectiles, according to the British Maritime Authority, Iran claiming responsibility for 2 of those strikes. The strait, a critical passageway for the world's oil supply, now essentially closed.
This is one of the pressure points that Iran knew he could use to really force the United States potentially to stop the conflict. If they can do this successfully, they're going to stop 20% of the world's oil supply.
Why would we even need a false flag?
There are
The reason why, so this is the idea, is that the government would use the false flag as a justification to send troops into Iran. I think that's what they're saying. That's the argument, at least. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying, like, that's what they were saying.
The flow of oil. The U.S. releasing a new video this morning of
like
strikes
Pearl
at
Harbor?
Iranian
Yeah, just like
naval
Pearl
ships,
Harbor.
saying it's destroyed 16 mine-laying vessels near the strait. The U.S. now said...
You've got to keep in mind, too, like, the U.S. didn't enter World War II until the end of 1941. Because Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941. And World War II started in 1939, whenever Hitler took over Poland.
American forces have struck more
So, like,
than
it was already going on
5,500
basically for, like, 2 or 3 years.
inside Iran since the war began 11 days ago. U.S. Central Command giving an update this morning.
Every day, we're striking hard at Iranian ballistic missile and drones.
The human cost playing out, too. In Tehran, thousands gathering in the streets for officials killed in some of the first strikes of the war. Now, to ease some of those concerns, dozens of countries are preparing for the largest release of oil from the strategic reserves ever.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do in order to keep the oil prices lower, obviously, so the terrorists don't effectively create some sort of economic pressure to have people want to let up on them. And I think that's very clearly what's happening. I mean, I'm not entirely sure, but that's where things are going to me. And so, and they've also been doing more of these. Look at this here. Here we go. It's already said the Mexican cartels are responsible for supplying drones to Iran to attack California. Well, I didn't hear that at all. That's the first time I'm ever hearing it in any capacity. So you make it sound as if the U.S. only entered because of World War II, because of Pearl Harbor. My understanding of it, and I'm not a World War II historian, but basically Pearl Harbor gave the necessary and sufficient impetus, because like after World War I, the U.S. wanted to be a lot more isolationist, and a lot of people in America didn't want to get involved in World War II. And whenever Pearl Harbor happened, like I think that what was it? I feel like, wasn't it Winston Churchill that said that after Pearl Harbor happened that they said they won the war because they knew America would come and fight? It galvanized the U.S. population. Yeah, it did. Pearl Harbor was the push. Yeah. Definitely. Maybe the U.S. would have gotten involved later on. Who knows? But Pearl Harbor definitely set it in motion. Historian here, you're correct. It was the trigger. Yeah, that's my understanding of it, right? But I could be wrong. And I'm sure it's probably it's multifaceted like everything is.
And now to Operation Epic Fury, the U.S. pounding Iranian warships as the regime retaliates against its neighbors across the region.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yinks joins us live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Good morning, Trey.
They're already involved. They provide resources.
Yeah, Lawrence, good morning.
I think so,
another
yeah.
sleepless night here in Tel Aviv as air raid sirens blared across the city 4 separate times.
Pearl Harbor's a false flag? No, Pearl Harbor was a strike on America that galvanized Americans into being willing to engage in a foreign war. That's what the comparison. The false flag part was just a coincidence.
bomb shelters, many missiles intercepted overhead as the Israelis and the Americans continue to degrade the Iranian regime and their ability to launch these types of attacks against Israel and regional Gulf countries. We have some aftermath inside of Iran showing you some of the damage, not only around the capital of Tehran, but other areas. There is a concerted effort by the Americans and the Israelis to degrade Iran's ability to respond with attacks, including ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke today about the ongoing success of this operation.
We are in a campaign against a cruel enemy that wants to destroy us.
What a surprise.
Their nuclear and ballistic capabilities in Operation Rising Lion. Afterwards, instead of learning the lesson, they tried to redevelop them and bury them deep underground in such a way that we could no longer target them.
The Israelis are looking east. They're also looking north at the Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. Some new strikes there overnight targeting individuals linked not only to Hezbollah, but also the IRGC. We know that according to the IDF, they have moved a brigade, the Golani Brigade that was inside Gaza, to the northern border in preparation for more offensive actions against Hezbollah. A top spokesperson for the Israeli military talking about...
I could see Israel like sending ground troops into Lebanon. I could easily see that happening. If Lebanon doesn't try to get Hezbollah under control, I think that's where things might go.
About this operation.
In recent days, we've identified that Hezbollah is trying to increase the firing towards northern communities and expand the range of fire to additional areas in the country. Hezbollah is taking heavy blows. We are deepening the damage to its capabilities with each passing day and increasing the pressure on it.
Do you think Iran
We're tracking a lot of developments here, not just from Lebanon, but also in Iran this week. There were pro-regime demonstrations. You can see people here chanting in support of Mojtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader of Iran. What you're not seeing in the streets of Iran right now is the anti-regime demonstrations, because there is...
Why not?
Real concern about another crackdown against those civilians. We know earlier...
It's because it's illegal, and they said on state TV that they will kill you if you protest against them. Wow. There's nobody out there protesting against the regime. Yeah, because they'd get killed. Duh.
This year, an estimated 32,000 people were killed in those protests. Guys? Well, Trey, what did Netanyahu mean when he said to the Iranian people, in the coming days will bring opportunity to free yourselves?
Fuck Israel, they're attacking civilians in Beirut, not military. Well, they're attacking a paramilitary force that's posing as civilians, and they're using civilian infrastructure to shoot rockets and do military actions against Israel. I think that if you're criticizing Israel for bombing Hezbollah, you should actually be criticizing Hezbollah for using civilians as human shields. They're the ones that are the terrorists that are indiscriminately launching missiles over to Israel with no sort of reasoning whatsoever other than just shooting them over there. It's ridiculous.
Working on some reporting on this specific topic right now, but there are clearly things going on behind the scenes that indicate the Americans and the Israelis want to empower the Iranian civilians who are against this brutal regime to go to the streets once again. We don't know exactly when that will happen or if the conditions will remain
another emotional
in a way
argument
that would allow them to go to the streets and not be killed by security forces. But
can't use them as shields and then cry when they die. Exactly. Well, that's the strategy they use, is that they use these people as human shields, and then whenever they get hit and these people die, then they act like victims, and a bunch of stupid Westerners believe that we're going around slaughtering civilians, when meanwhile they're the ones that are slaughtering their own civilians, and whenever they're not slaughtering their own civilians, they're trying to kill the civilians in other countries, and they're using their own civilians as shields from any sort of repercussions from it. That's what they're doing.
As a result of Operation Epic Fury, many of the people responsible for the crackdown on protesters have been taken out, and the besieged forces and IRGC headquarters in Tehran have been destroyed in this operation. And so these heavy blows will continue to be inflicted on the Iranian regime, and we can expect an increase in strikes throughout the day today and even into tonight.
Trey, you're reporting that you started off with when it comes to that brigade that was on the Gaza border from Israel. Is that a ground force that's making its way?
Yes, it is, Lawrence. It's a...
Oh, wow. That's new. That's definitely new. Holy shit. I agree, but how's it different when it comes to Gaza? I have no idea. I mean, if you want me to be honest, the Palestine-Gaza argument, like, I don't, it's not relevant or important to me who's right or who's wrong. I just feel bad for the people that are in Gaza that are getting killed. That's really about it. I'm not trying to argue about who's right and who's wrong in that conflict. It's a Middle Eastern war that's been going on for decades, if not hundreds of years, and I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Ground force. The Golani Brigade was one of the, you could describe them as the tip of the spear for the Israelis when they were entering on the ground to fight Hamas inside Gaza. We met many of these soldiers throughout the course of the war, and they are trained ground fighters. They have the ability to go into Lebanon deeper if the Israelis make that decision. Right now, we know there are tanks and troops deployed in southern Lebanon. Over the weekend, two Israeli soldiers were actually killed by Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. But it's an incredibly difficult terrain to operate in. And again, an indication of why they are moving the Golani Brigade, a brigade that has this fighting experience.
So, Trey, a little bit of analysis and mixing with reporting with this question. Why do you think the Arab Gulf states, I just saw it today, Saudi Arabia stops ballistic missiles aimed at Prince Sultan Air Base. We saw the UAE been targeted again yesterday. At what point do they start standing up for themselves and hitting back? Do you think the U.S. and Israeli forces would like them to do that?
This is another great question, and I want to be careful with my reporting here. I'm also working on a story about this, but there are conversations happening behind the scenes about possible involvement of Gulf states. They understand they're taking a massive amount of ballistic missile fire and drone attacks against
I'm actually surprised that more countries haven't started helping, like bombing Iran. I feel like it's very obvious where the problem is coming from. Like, when you have Iran that's funding terrorism all around the world, and they're also bombing everybody constantly, same. I think also one of the reasons why is they're afraid of, like, kind of repercussions and, like, Iran bombing them. That's probably the main reason. But I do, like, I think that Europe should be helping us a lot more than they are. That's my opinion. I think it's embarrassing that they're not. And I think that for places like in the UK, I think the reason why they're not is they're trying not to alienate the radical Islamic people that live in the country already, which I think is just embarrassing. It's pathetic.
Just U.S. military targets in their countries, but also the civilian population there. And so certainly this is a consideration. I've also been talking with Gulf sources, and they say there is a red line. We're trying to understand what that red line is as these attacks unfold. But the fact that we're seeing drone attacks and missile attacks against cities like Doha, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai, these are areas where international tourists go. We know there were thousands of American citizens earlier in this war that had just been vacationing there. These are countries that are not used to taking this type of incoming fire, very different from Israel.
It's brutal.
And so those conversations are taking place, and considerations are...
And I think that's the reason why they're not doing it. It's because they don't have the same infrastructure to repel attacks.
Underway about more involvement.
That's actually the main reason
why. Not just
why.
defensive, but also offensive capabilities.
That would be a game changer.
Yeah, I know. And you know what I thought about? We interviewed someone, was it the lady we interviewed? She was stuck. She was an American. She was stuck in Dubai. And I instantly thought, like, these drone attacks are happening where a lot of Americans are not able to leave. Have the Americans who have wanted to get out, have they been allowed to get out now?
I feel like they have been. That's right. Yeah,
absolutely. Tens of thousands of Americans have been able to leave the Middle East as a result of efforts that were made by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Assistant Secretary of State Dylan Johnson, and others who have been behind the scenes working with not only charter flights, but also ground transportation and coordination to get Americans out of harm's way at no cost. And so that has been a very successful effort so far. And we've even seen some of the video of Americans returning, for example, to Dulles Airport outside of Washington after they've been able to get out of the Middle East. And so we understand
these efforts will continue. The airports are closed. They are now, but they haven't been.
Thousands of Americans have been able to come home in the aftermath of this war beginning.
All right. Thanks so much, Trey.
Thanks, Trey.
Now they're trying to get an economic toll, have the region pay an economic toll, we'll pay an economic toll. The one way to do it. To bring that price of oil.
Yeah, they're just bombing ships. That's all they're doing. Trying to make the price of oil go up as much as possible. The Gulf countries do have infrastructure to repel attacks. Look at UAE. I wasn't talking about the Gulf countries. I was talking about the other ones besides that, like places like in Europe, etc.
Down and gas is to start.
I don't know if they have the same type of infrastructure.
Doing that.
And also, like, it's very clear that the Saudi Arabia does not have the same level of it that Israel does.
The minute the escorts stop, you're going to watch the price per barrel go down. It's already down on the 85 from 120.
It did go down.
Meanwhile, now let's go to Steve Harrigan, who is live at the border between Iran and Armenia. Steve.
Uh-oh.
U.S. Central Command saying that they have destroyed 16 mine-laying Iranian ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Of course,
it's like over 20 now, I'm pretty sure.
Narrow waterway is where 1/5 of the world's oil flows through. President Trump issuing a stark warning, posting, if for any reason mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before.
This is from yesterday.
Central Command also posting the following numbers. They say that 50 Iranian Navy vessels have been destroyed, basically rendering Iran's Navy combat ineffective. Also, but there have been 100.
The thing is, though, is like they don't need the Navy to go out there and lay these bombs. They just need boats. They probably should be more aggressive with going after all of the other boats. Romania agreed to help the U.S. today. Wow, I didn't even know that. It's crazy. Honestly, some of the countries that are like assisting the United States, I would have never expected.
Injured U.S. service members. Of those injuries, just 8
even with like Syria
injured. And finally, a stark warning on potential internal dissent in Iran. Iran's police chief saying that protesters on the street will be treated like enemies of the state. And
yeah, see, this is the reason why they don't have protesters in Iran and why everybody out there in Iran is cheering for the regime. It's because anybody who's not cheering for the regime is literally just killed.
Security forces have their fingers on the triggers. Guys, back to you.
Hey, so Steve, just real quick on the pace, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are trying to get out of Iran through that border area that you're at, right? Just a trickle?
They're not. It's a sleepy little town, 2 or 3 a day. We spoke to some this morning, and that could change in a hurry. This is really one easy, free way out. The border is open.
All right. Thanks so much.
Steve. Well, as Steve just reported,
Australia since the surveillance plane?
The U.S.
I didn't know
eliminated
that.
Our military eliminated 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels.
It's got to be more, obviously.
What are these mine vessels? And they refer to Iran deploying these naval mines via small boats in the Strait of Hormuz to disrupt global oil shipping. The mines are used for blockading the narrow Strait of Hormuz. They are considered cheap but deadly underwater weapons designed to deny access, damage commercial tankers, and close the waterway. And Donald Trump has said he will completely destroy these mine.
They do all of that against civilians. Like, these are people that are just simply civilians. Like, they're not military or anything like that. These are just people that are trying to go about their life and do their job.
Vessels, 10 of them were inactive, he said, that he previously destroyed. But he says, if you do this, we will hit back harder.
Yeah, I mean... Why the Iranians thought that they could do any type of...
So when they are not protesting in Iran, they're getting killed. Then they say 10K got killed, but not a single bit of evidence. I mean, what evidence would you accept? I mean, would you accept like all the videos of body bags? I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like that's pretty good evidence right there. And also, like, why do you think that all the protests stopped? Like, what do you think that, like, where's the logic, right? So, like, everybody's protesting like crazy. Iran turns off the internet, and then the protests stop. But there's, like, leaked videos of body bags everywhere with, like, dead people. Like, I mean, just put together those pieces, and you're going to come to the obvious conclusion of what happened. Anybody can see that.
Combat operation within the water.
I mean, just think about it.
We not find out about it is ludicrous to me. Their Navy has no shot going against our Navy as well as the intelligence that we have.
Streets, yeah, exactly.
General Jack King was talking about the operation. And have they been successful thus far? Watch.
The offensive operation is succeeding daily to strip away all of their offensive capability, ballistic missiles, and drones, and we're penetrating underneath the ground to underground sites to get those missiles, take down those launchers, take down the transportation that moves them, take down the command and control. It is a systematic, deliberate approach to do it, and the same thing with the drones. And the proof is there. Objectively, the percentage of their ability to retaliate is down way over 90%.
That's pretty obvious.
That is quite remarkable in itself.
Right.
You can't stop terrorists from causing terror. They'll just find a new way to do it. You got to go in and fix that shit. Well, you can kill them. I mean, that's really the only way that you can do it. I mean, like, I don't think you can really negotiate with them or try to, like, give them what they want to make them stop doing it. Like, if they're going to stop doing it, they'll decide to do that themselves. But you can't, like, negotiate with them or give them money or something like that.
With those boats, it looks like we've destroyed 50 of the main naval vessels that they have.
The tape video?
But 80% of the small boats are still out. And they say they got between 2,000 and 5,000 mines.
I don't know what it is.
They have to stay on top of it. But if they could just get the escort, a system of escorting these barges out, then oil and gas will begin to drop. And guess what? China, we only get 5% of our oil and gas there. China gets about 50% of their oil, and their oil goes through there. So the world would benefit from that. I just wonder how soon until we decide to grab that Karg Island, where 90% of all the Iranian oil is shipped. We have that. You want the ultimate leverage. We have it.
There it is on the map.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that that's something the president's talked about since the 80s. Everyone knows it, and that would really get their attention. So I think they.
What are you hearing, Brian, about?
I think the only way that you can negotiate, like, it seems pretty obvious that you can't eradicate a whole group for an attack they haven't done or imaginary weapons. Well, I mean, these are attacks that they're doing. They've been doing these attacks for years, right? And they do have, like, they're not shooting us imaginary. Well, I mean, to be fair, they are shooting imaginary warheads with AI videos. I was about to say, like, oh, actually. But whenever they are shooting missiles, like, they do actually, yeah, they are attacking. Like, what do you mean?
The hesitation.
What are you talking about?
As it relates to the island.
Well, the hesitation would be there might be a temporary uptick in oil and oil because with us, the transition of us being in control of it, the Iranians get pushed out of it, there might be very little coming out of there. But Iran can't exist economically without it. So if you want to create ultimate leverage on a regime that they're so scared, they're afraid to put their supreme leader out in public, I think that's one way to do it. If you're in control of it, you literally are doing what you did with.
And if they didn't care about dying as much as they say they do, and they really wanted martyrdom, they would have no problem putting their supreme leader out there. But they're actually getting afraid because the truth is that, I mean, I think that this is the case with a lot of these like religious zealot groups, is that at the beginning, it's very easy to, find some of the people that are willing to die for the cause. But after people actually see other people dying for the cause, the desire to die for the cause, I think, goes down very fast. I think that's really what's going on now.
Rodriguez, we took all their ships and said, nothing's coming in or out. We'll control your oil. We flipped the government, take Maduro out, and now we're refining their oil. So
you bring up a good point. That the new leader, who you had heard, you had asked, was his leg amputated? We've heard he was injured in that first attack.
They ran out of true
believers. He hasn't been seen. Hasn't come out at all. So is he still alive?
I think that he's dead. I think that's probably what happened, is that he's dead, but they're not saying anything about it.
Live?
Well,
is he in hiding?
There's some reporting about it. I mean, we haven't confirmed it ourselves, but there's some reporting in the Times today to talk about some sources saying that they've seen him amputated, but we haven't independently confirmed.
Nobody has any idea. They're trying to hide all the information about it, obviously.
Back to your
reports
original
he's
question,
in a coma.
when you read Netanyahu's call for them to rise up, it says get ready to rise up.
Yeah.
That means I think the Mossad's doing some great work on the ground, eliminating leaders, because nobody has better intelligence. They've already shown this over the last 2 years, 3 years, about the Iranian society, who's in command and who's going to be dead.
They're keeping their cards close? Yeah, that's what I would do.
Than Israel.
Real quickly, Brian, that's a good point, because it looks like even this new supreme leader doesn't have as much power because of his father planned for all of these little brigades.
Well, I mean, obviously he doesn't have the same amount of power, right? I mean, it's very clear that's the case.
To have their own command. And I think that's what's happening. That's why.
I mean, the other guy was in power for 30 years. I mean, you're going to build up a certain amount of influence over those years.
The Gulf states are being targeted. Is that you don't have one person leading the operation right now. You have all these little guys that are running their own little divisions.
Yeah, if there was one guy more powerful, it's not the president. It's Ali Larijani. He's the guy that gave the order to start cracking down on those protesters and killing them in cold blood.
Well, isn't he dead? He's dead, right?
Last month. He's still there, and he's trying to taunt our president.
Oh, really?
I'm Steve
Damn, I thought they killed him.
And I mean,
yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah, I thought they got that guy. Fuck, I didn't even know that. And low reputation stat? Yeah, he's got low reputation. Exactly. And the media is just confusing everyone. Bibi reported missing. CatDany reported missing. I don't know about him being reported missing at all. Seen reports over the past year of the fraudulent voting. Oh, yeah, I've seen a ton of that. I mean, people have been talking about fake voting for a very, very long time. I think that's pretty obvious, right? And didn't they injure him? Yeah, they said that before. And they've said that multiple times, actually. Let me go and find out if there's any more of these to look at, too. Reports of an unknown oil tanker currently engulfed in flames over the coast of Basra in southern... What the fuck? God damn. Uh-oh. People aren't going to be willing to die for someone unless they 100% support them. Yeah, I think that's true, too. Holy shit. So this is off the coast, excuse me, of Iraq. We gotta quit fucking around and blast these dudes. I don't know what their plan is. I have no idea. Holy shit. Good thing we still use paper straws to save the planet over here in Europe. Yeah, I guess so, right? Holy fuck. Yeah, this stuff is insane. Look at how massive that fire is. I mean, you look at that guy. This fire's got to be like, what, a few hundred feet tall? Holy shit. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says Iran war could lead to lower energy prices in the long term. Yeah, obviously. Duh. Like, who the fuck doesn't think that?